Did God tell you to stay or did he tell you to forgive? Hola, hola, hola todos. Es tu prima favorita, Bobby here, and welcome back to the Cousins Corner. I'm just here with a little quick mensaje. I was listening to this lady the other day, just going down the TikTok rabbit hole, I guess, and she was talking about like how God called her to forgive her husband, but not only to forgive him for infidelity, but to also fix her marriage, yada yada yada. I'm not here to say anything about her relationship or whatever the case may be, because whatever God called her to do, that's what God called her to do. If he called her to stay in that marriage, he called her to stay in that marriage. I personally don't believe that God's gonna call you to stay in a situation that broke you, absolutely. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. I digress. What it brought up to me is just the thought that a lot of people use God's forgiveness and him calling you to forgive somebody as an excuse to also stay in that situation. Now, yes, there are times where where God might be calling you to reconcile with somebody, to move forward with somebody, to continue a friendship or a relationship or whatever the case may be with somebody. But I find it really, really hard to believe that somebody who has put you through so much turmoil, especially someone who has been unfaithful to you, who has watched you crash and burn, who has repeatedly beat you down, whether it be physically, mentally, emotionally, figuratively, literally, whatever the case may be, and then you turn around and say that because God called us to forgive, that not only do you need to forgive, but you need to stay in that situation. A lot of y'all really take to heart that God has called you to suffer, and I'm sorry, but the God I serve, I don't think he really wants that for you. I really don't think that he wants that for you. And again, I am not in your shoes. I don't have a heaven and hell to put you in. I cannot cast judgment on you because I did not create you and I did not create your life. But what I can say is the God that we serve, if he is indeed a just God, as we say, he's a loving God, he wants to see you win, why would he tell you to stay in a situation and continue to endure heartache and pain? And I'm not talking about for people who, you and that person have this understanding that y'all are going to come to terms and do better and move forward and make things work, and then it's beautiful from there on out. I'm talking about people who are like, well, God has called me to stay in this and make this work, even though this person is continuing to do the same thing that they were doing before. Now, it's one thing to be like, yeah, God called us to fix it. We tried to work on it. I was faithful. I did what I needed to do, and that person wouldn't work on it. So then I left. But some of y'all are really in the trenches by yourself and using God as an excuse to stay there. God called you to stay and called you to be faithful to this person, but he didn't call this person to change. I find that funny. Don't you find that suspicious? Because I definitely do. And I think that a lot of times, as I said before, people use the excuse of forgiveness to stay in a situation because they're too afraid to let go. They're too afraid to walk away. They're tied to that person for whatever reason. They're tied to that situation. They don't want to give up. They don't want to let go. So they say, God told me to forgive and told me to stay. God don't want you to stay there if that man is also not working with you. He does not want you to stay in that situation if that woman is also not willing to change. If that other person is also not willing to put in the work to grow and to move forward and to progress y'all's relationship and move away from whatever had happened, whatever the pitfall was, that is not of God. If God really wants you to stay in somewhere, he's going to make it so. He's going to make it plain and make it clear that other person is also going to be working with you. So if you find yourself in a situation where you feel God called me to forgive and to move forward, but you are the only one that's trying to fix things and make things right, that's not of God. Yes, he called you to forgive, but that does not mean that he called you to stay. And I need people to learn the difference. Anyway, that's all I have to say on this topic. Please let me know what you think because I love to engage with y'all in the comments. If you're watching this on my TikTok, please make sure that you follow me. If you're watching this on my YouTube, please make sure that you subscribe. Either way, drop a comment, share, whatever the case may be. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Tell me what you want to share. Anyway, thank you for joining me in the Cousins Corner. I am tu prima favorita, Bobby, and I just like to talk, and I will see you next time. Bye.